Welcome back to the Classic Physique Radio. I think this is what did I label this as? This is episode 9. So we're on number 9 now. And this week we've got Cameron Cheek and his client Anton, who just qualified for the Mr. Olympia for 2026. What's up, fellas?
What's going on? Thank you for having us. I've been looking forward to this like all week.
Hell yeah.
Been a big fan of the podcast, so it's fun to be on.
It's just hanging out, you know what I mean? Talking about the shit that we love to talk about. So it's what's not to enjoy about it, you know what I mean? Jarek will be on shortly for everybody else. And then Cameron, what's good? How are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you having us on. As Anton said, I really enjoy the podcast and how I was kind of mentioning, we'd be sitting around at the hotel room and stuff on these past shows, just killing time. And it was definitely entertaining to watch these. And yeah, I think y'all have done something really cool with this and starting up.
Well, I've said it a bunch of times on a bunch of episodes. We really have Terrence to thank for it, you know, because he made a story about it first, and was like, man, I wish there was somebody doing something about Classic. And I've been doing a podcast, like a solo podcast, for a while. I'm still doing it. I did an episode with Branch that just dropped today, and I've been doing that for a while. So I just messaged him. I was like, well, just come on mine. And then he's like, well, why don't I come on and be a co-host for something? And I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. So we started up a whole new page and everything, and we actually just applied for monetization and stuff today, and we want to just put it back into the channel. So like, we're excited for it, man. Me and Jarek are very blessed to be doing this. You know, it's kind of weird to have people come up to me at the Olympia and be like, "Oh, I watched the podcast." I'm like, "What? It just started. What are we
Yeah,
doing?"
you got it rolling fast, and it's already picking up traffic, so it's good.
It's Terrence, man. It has nothing to do with me and Jarek. We're just the talking heads that showed up at the right place, right time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely got a big influence on the classic community.
Yeah, dude. So,
Like, classic is so different from real bodybuilding.
yeah,
Like
yeah, but
so niche.
it's honestly, it's the first thing that I've been excited for past like coaching and competing. You know, like back when I used to compete and now coach, like this is the first thing that I've been really excited for outside of actually like focused around competitive bodybuilding. So I enjoy the hell out of this, man.
Good.
When was the last time you competed? I'm actually kind of curious on your competitive journey.
2023. I did the amateur that was attached to the Texas Pro. Jarek is messaging here. So I did the 2023 Texas, I think they called it Texas Classic or something like that. I was 226. They told us going into the show that there weren't enough people in the heavies and supers to separate it. So I worked with Chris Tuttle at the time. We were just like, fuck it, cool. Let's just weigh in and go. I was 226, like in fully clothed and everything. And then last second, like literally before we walked out on stage, they pushed us into supers and heavies. And then it was me and 4 other guys in supers, and I ended up
Were
in
you in the
third.
classic weight cap, or you wouldn't be able to make
My classic weight cap was 209.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, there was certainly like I probably could have been a little bit more conditioned than I was at the last show that I did, but there was no way it was like almost 20 pounds worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's rough for amateurs if you're like already filled out. Like,
Well, and you've stood next to me in person. I'm tall. I'm 6 foot. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah, you should be taller for. I mean, you should be able to be heavier if you're. I don't know. You seem like you were taller than 6 feet. Because
they
I'm like
always had it.
almost 6 feet in the Air Forces. So
Yeah. Well, when they hided me in, they'd hide me in at like 5'11" and something. It was 209 is what my last weight cap was, and it was like, yeah, we're not going to keep doing that. I don't have great aesthetics, so I'm not going to be able to get that kind of frame with the 209 weight cap, unfortunately. So
I'm not looking forward to all the weight cap pull. It's gonna be rough soon.
yeah, well, how close are you guys? What's Cameron? How crazy are you having to get him in his weight cap?
Oh, we still got plenty of room.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think his prep low was right around like 202. And I mean, if we wanted to continue I probably could have gotten another 5 pounds of water off of that. Like it wouldn't have been water that would be that visible to the eye. He was dry at that point, but in terms of like getting dehydrated, like if he had to get the weight off, we probably could get another 5 off there. And then I think that he probably could still be another 2 to 3 pounds leaner. At this point with his physique, though, I think he needs a little bit more muscle on his frame for us to get that last bit off and it like still look good and be his best look.
Without
Um,
sacrifice.
but so, let's just say give or take another 6, 7 pounds, he could have came down. His cap for where he measured in at would have been at 212. So realistically, we could probably put another 15 pounds on his frame, and he's been heighted before in the past at a height that would put him at 219. So we're hoping to try and get that 219 weight cap, but that's not necessarily the biggest concern right now. We can still continue to fill out even at the, even at his shortest days, if you will. So we'll fill out the 212 first and see how the look is. And, we still got room for improvements. I don't think we'll have to worry about trying to get taller for another maybe 2 years. But yeah.
Like for these recent shows, we were carbon up before the weigh-ins. So that's why we were kind of close to the cap, but like it's obviously not the case.
Yeah, like he was still weighing in with clothes on and stuff like that.
Okay, well that's good. You are one of the few.
2 more years of that weight cap should be good.
You're one of the few that still has room to go. Most of the guys we've talked to so far, it's like, oh, I missed weight because of this, or oh, like what it's funny how few people are like comfortable under the weight cap. You know what I mean? And the biggest thing, and Cameron, I'm sure you can attest to this with Anton. You're 21, right?
Yes, sir.
Like to be 21, he has a crazy level of muscle maturity, but there's still a level of muscle maturity that like needs to continue to develop in order for his physique to fully come together. You know what I mean? Like he's way more developed than most 21-year-olds. You know what I mean? But once you put it on stage next to a guy that's been there for a long time, that's when you notice it. Like the prime example is Nihat Kayev or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? He was in the top call outs of the 212 and he's around the same age you are, but and he looks crazy online. As soon as you put him in the lineup, you start to see, it's like, okay, you can tell that there's some young tissue. So just a little bit of time of him like maturing in that muscle. It's going to look crazy.
Yeah. There's some body parts that I know will continue to get pretty dense too. I mean, he has the muscle maturity and density in his glutes as a 35-year-old grown man. But, like one of the things we're going to be working on is like depth throughout his back. I know
Anton, sorry to cut you off, Cameron. Anton, you might need to pull your mic up a little bit closer because you keep talking. It's not quite pulling you up. Go blow your nose, please. Jesus Christ. Anyway, sorry, Cameron. What were you saying?
Yeah, there'll be some muscle groups that will continue to see some maturity and depth really come into, like his back. I know even in one of the podcasts that you guys had on here, when you guys had Kellen, you guys were kind of mentioning like in the back double, you can tell like, Kellen's, 30 however year old man, Anton's being 21, you can see that age gap there still. But honestly, like one of the things that's super cool with him is, and it's like something I've tried to like really instill with him, and maybe he already even had this kind of like mindset and thought process, but it's at his age and where he's at, I'm really excited that we still have room and that we still have things to improve.
Fuck yeah.
Like I'm excited to be working with him now and him be at the start of things rather than, him be 23, 24, already weight cap filled out. Like we're excited about the work, and yeah, I was super happy with the year.
Anton, it didn't pick up what you just said. Are you muted? It might. Yeah, I don't think it's picking up your audio at all. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really cool because you don't have to be. Yeah, it's not picking up your mic, bro.
Wait, what about
now? We got it. Yeah,
it's just not going to be as quality now, but
it's all good, man. It won't be that big a deal. But not being in a rush to fill out the weight cap either is such an important quality, and like at 21 years old, I can only imagine like how much you have to like kind of slow him down a little bit. You know what I mean? Of like how fast he wants to try and get to that next level. Cause it's enticing. You know what I mean? Like, do you feel like you have to like, Anton, do you feel like you are trying to push really aggressively, or how do you feel?
I kind of understand that bodybuilding is a long game, so I'm taking like gradual steps. So, if we need to incorporate certain things in the future, we still have that in our arsenal, so we don't need to be doing everything all at once,
Right.
That's why I'm happy, because even like with the way things are trending right now, like from Pittsburgh to these recent shows, I put on 16 pounds of stage weight. So I really don't need to be like speeding it up, because otherwise I'll just outgrow Classic
and
a year.
And I'll kind of speak for the public here too, because I've had a lot of people that are like, oh, what's it like working with Anton? There's only so much you can really like expect going in working with, you know, a 21-year-old that's got such a big like social media following, you know, such a good physique, and just like the general consensus of how you might expect someone to act, you know. And you know what I've really kind of told people out the gate was I've been super impressed and proud with the way he's carried himself. Even the first time we met each other, I was kind of a bit taken back because I felt like Anton was a little bit like nervous to meet me and talk to me. And I'd never really met him. Like we had met before, but we hadn't like sat down and talked. Like I didn't know Anton. And so I didn't really know what to expect going into it. Like, oh, is this guy gonna, you know, have this big ego? You know, is he gonna? And it was very like out the gate. I feel like him and I have done such a good job at showing respect both sides of it. And like that first time we met, like you could tell in his voice, and he like looked at me and he was like, bro, like I just need somebody to lead me. Like I need a leader. Like I
Yeah.
need somebody to guide me in my life. And throughout the process and throughout the prep, like I could tell like as I would have to continue to almost like condition his mental of like, hey, like we don't have to increase this or we don't have to bring this in or like, you know, we don't even have to necessarily win. Like I just need you to just be you. You know, like at the end of the day, like I promise you, you just be you. It's all gonna work out in the long run for you. You know? And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Anton, Anton, where do you think you developed that mindset at 21 years old to understand that like you have a lot of attention, you have a lot of people telling you that like what you are going to be, this, that, and the other. Like, how do you keep yourself still like just a normal dude? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I feel like it's just I've been under the spotlight for like maybe 2 years now. So I already felt like I needed it like all one like I needed it all at once and like I rushed things. I feel like I felt really burned out for a little bit that I'm not there yet and it's all that. So I just decided to stay present, be in the moment, take it every day, day by day, and just be myself. If I stick to who I am and just keep the noise out, it's the best way I can operate at my best. So that's just the way I handle things now. And like Cameron's been like this like older brother figure to me. So he's kind of like keeping me, even though like we're able to be friends and like, you know, talk our shit, but like I still respect him enough to like
right.
keep me, keep me kind of chilled and mellowed out. At the same time, he has
Yeah.
like a good game plan, so I just listen to it.
Yeah.
I have enough respect. He has enough authority to just, you know,
and also shout out to Maddie too. His what fiance or
yeah. I mean, we haven't girlfriend.
girlfriend. Um, so his girlfriend, no, I feel like she's such a great support
Yeah,
system in his life too. And like being around both of them for basically like 3 weeks straight, almost a full month. I could really just see, yeah, the support that she provides. And I don't know, like you can just tell his whole team is backing behind him and like his
Right.
foundation for him is really sturdy.
yeah,
Yeah, I've been around Anton a couple of times when they've been to the gym, and it seems like they've got like a pretty good dynamic going there. So it's
yeah.
it's very
She came
it's
in my
very
life. It's been great. She's been keeping me mellow.
it's one of those things that like Cameron, I think you're probably closer to my age, and you have a family, you have kids or no?
I have a 7-year-old boy, yeah.
Yeah, so like you kind of understand it's like when the right girl comes along and you start dealing with them, it just helps you in so many aspects because there's no more noise. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're not hunting around for anything. You're not trying to juggle multiple females. Like you're not trying to like there's not all this extra energy going to all these other places. When that person comes along, they make a good man way better. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I
It
think
makes you want to be better for her.
yeah.
Just for the future, for the
I
future
mean,
family.
yeah, I mean some prime examples is like Keon when him and Amanda got together, massive change in who he was. Jordan
Yeah,
Hutchinson, his wife, I know his wife has been a massive part of his journey and what they've done in the last few years. Like it's all of these great men who have a woman who's in the background who is helping them through all the shit that we don't see online. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's just awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, that's good, man. How long have y'all been together?
a little bit over a year. So
Oh,
I
really?
I was in a pretty bad spot, like moving places and not knowing where my next steps are, and kind of like
Yeah.
when we met, I kind of just like was able to lock in, and it's been like pretty much like a little bit over a year that I've just been able to fully invest into bodybuilding and our relationship and just growing as a person, and it's been yeah as you said, it's just like the right person always keeps you kind of wanting to keep improving. So
Yep. So
yeah,
was that time frame that you're talking about of like kind of being in a dark space? Was that after turning pro? Was that before going pro? Was it when
yeah, it
was that?
was so it was like a couple months after turning pro. I feel like I really pushed myself a little bit too hard after my pro card because I wanted to like go compete that year and like qualify for the Olympia that year, just way too quick. So I ended up like burning out and just kind of like really losing sight of what's like important for me and losing
Right.
just like, kind of a daily grind. I was just not able to, focus up on certain things. And
Were you with Cameron at the time?
no, no. So
No.
me and Cameron just started working together back in July, actually.
Okay.
So it's my first prep with Cameron. And at that time, yeah, I don't think I had enough guidance in the off season. And that's why whenever I did start the off season, I was just like lost. And then at that point, I just had to start everything over again. And
Yeah.
that's why I started my off season for Pittsburgh at that time.
That's good. And like I think I said it on the last episode that we had, like a good coach, it's like me and Cameron are doing very similar things. Like the nutrition is going to be similar, the training is going to be similar, the cardio, like all of these things are going to be relatively similar, right? The difference is how you connect with that individual that's in front of you, right? Because like if Anton one day was just like, oh man, I'm going to leave Cameron, I'm going to go to Jarek even, but there's not the right connection there, it's not going to work, right? Like it's not so much like the coaches what their secret sauce is, it's how they're able to find like figure out how to pull the best out of that individual, you know what I mean? And Cameron, you kind of feel the same way?
100%. I basically reiterate it and emphasize it anytime now I'm on a new potential client inquiry call. I
Mm-hmm.
usually tell them like, hey, the purpose of this call isn't to convince you to work with me. The purpose of the call is for me to help you be the best equipped that you can be to make a decision so you can find the right fit. I always tell everybody like, especially in today's day and age with social media, there's plenty of coaches out there.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone will be able to find the right fit, and there's plenty of good coaches out there when it comes to the X's and O's. But as you've mentioned, it's more so how you can extract and mold and shape the athletes and be a leader and guidance, a big guidance piece for them in their life.
That's 100%, man. And I think that's the hard part when somebody goes, well, how do you find a good coach? It's like, well, well, first off, do a little research on like the surface level stuff. But then from there, like, just chat with them a little. Just pick their brain on some things. Ask them some questions. Interact with their social media. Put comments on their videos and ask questions about this and see how they respond because that's going to tell you a lot, right? It's going to tell you a lot of things. And then you can also always go to their athletes and talk to their athletes about how they handle things and how they communicate. Talk to athletes that have left, like talk to all these different people because that can help you build a picture of like how do they interact with people across the spectrum. Anton, how did you know that Cameron was the guy that you wanted to work with? Right, that's enough.
So initially, Cameron had messaged me like a long time ago, and a lot of people suggested me Cameron as a coach. Like a lot of the guys there are coached by him, and I kind of was like, I already had a coach at that time, so I was always like kept Cameron in mind. But then the second I met him, we kind of clicked. Like I understood like he's like we're on the same wavelength, if that makes sense. Like we could just
Hmm.
like we could be good friends. So that means I could also be a good client for him because like it's easy to find like the same language if that makes sense, you know what I
Yep.
mean? So we're just like it's easy to like he understands me, I understand him, and like it's just that good relationship to begin with, that like the foundation that leads into good, obviously good
Yep.
performance.
Yeah.
We just kind of clicked.
It kind of went down back when I was up in Jersey for Universe because that's where Anton currently resides.
Hmm.
I saw him at the gym, and I had heard that he wasn't working with his prior coach anymore. And again, like I'm not really at that point anymore as a coach where I feel like I need anybody. I'm kind of at the point where it's just like if I do what I need to do and I'm a good person, like it's all gonna work out. And like I'm very content with the athletes that I coach. Like I could never take on another person and never lose any more people and coach this roster that I have right now for the rest of my career, and I'll be very content. But I had heard about that he wasn't working with a coach anymore. And I'm 27, so it wasn't too long ago that I was also 21 in this industry and kind of coming up. And I've seen the industry for as much as I can for what it's worth and the type of people that are in it. And I don't know what it was that day that kind of like tugged on my heart to like go up to Anton and talk to him. And I basically was just like, hey man, like, I don't know if the rumor is true that, you're not working with your past coach anymore. It's not like your business it's not my business for you to confirm or deny that. But I was just like, I just want to give some advice to you. Like, I'm not here trying to pick you up as a coach, nothing, anything like that. I'm like, honestly, like, dude, you look crazy. Like, you're 21 years old. Like, you have so much potential in this sport. You can go so far. I was like, if you're not working with a coach right now, I was like, just please, like, take your time and just do what you need to do to, like, feel out who it is that you decide to hire, because whoever that is and that decision is going to really dictate the trajectory of your career as well as your health. And there's a lot of people out here that are just going to look at you as like a show horse and like their ticket. And I was like, you
Yep.
need to find somebody that cares about you. It doesn't matter how many followers you have, how good you can be. You need somebody that's going to treat you like anybody else, but give you the attention that you need to climb to the top. And
100%.
I just, yeah, and then just kind of congratulated him because I'd been watching him since nationals, because he in the overall he beat my guy. They were both in the middle, and so I'd known who Anton was since then. And yeah, then that was at like Monday at the beginning of the week, and then Anton actually reached out to me the day before I was supposed to fly out. I had like an 11 a.m. flight. I don't even know if I've told Anton this yet before, but I had like an 11 a.m. flight. And Anton was like, hey man, like I actually would want to meet up tomorrow around lunch and talk a little bit more about coaching. Are you going to be free? And instantly I was just like, yeah, man, I'm free, knowing good and well I had an 11 a.m.
I
flight. So
didn't
I
know
just
that.
booked a new flight later
Let me
on for the
change
rest
this
of the
right
day.
quick.
Yeah. And then we
Yeah,
met up and just
that's it.
instantly clicked. And like I said, the respect was there out the gate. And I knew from there already him delivering on that end. I was like, we're gonna be able to do something special.
Right.
Yeah, a good way
What's
to
up, Jarek?
network, just have a pump,
What's up, boys?
look crazy.
I'm guessing y'all discussing about the whole history and how
Yeah.
Cameron picked up, but
His
yeah.
coaching and stuff. But to go back to something that Anton said a minute ago is like he's found a coach that's like a best friend. And
Yeah.
sometimes people hear that and they get worried. They're like, "Oh, you're best friends with your coach. Like, are they going to do the right thing for you?" But the thing to me is if somebody is really my best friend, they're going to hold me accountable in the times that I've asked for it. You know what I mean? So in this
No, for sure.
circumstance where you guys have gone into a situation and he goes, "Hey, I want you to get me ready for this show and this is my ultimate trajectory and like my stage presence is in your hands." There's now an understanding between the two of you of like, I'm not here to be your cheerleader. I'm here to get you what you wanted. So when you're gonna hate me at times and you're gonna love me at times, we're gonna ride it together. We're gonna figure it the fuck out, you know?
Yeah, I feel like with your
Sure.
best friend, you have that trust, and then
Yeah.
that trust is what ultimately leads to like, no slip ups. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because
No, for sure. I think the other side to that is what can be a disadvantage or issue is if the athlete or the coach or both has a hard time with keeping the friendship and business from blurring,
Right.
right? Because if there's a wrong decision made or there's an outcome that doesn't sway or favor your way, it can bleed into the actual relationship between the athlete and coach if they're best friends, right? But on the flip side, the advantage is the trust is on a whole nother level, and I
Yep.
think that's a big advantage, when it comes to bodybuilding.
It's an interesting dynamic that we deal with in bodybuilding because like like you said, you have to separate the business and the friendship, but then at the same time you also have to separate yourself from your physique, right?
Mhm.
Like there's been multiple podcasts where we brought up Anton and start talking about different things in his physique. He could now go, well, fuck Nick. He said that this doesn't look good on me. You know what I mean? And it's like that's not the case at all,
yeah,
man. Like you look insane. But if you're going to look more insane, this is what we focus on and this is what we have to do because we all have things to improve. But that's not an attack on Anton. It's just a thing that is going to help move his physique forward. Even if my viewpoint sucks, it's still a viewpoint that you can go, cool, well, we'll at least take that into consideration and maybe it's a factor.
Yeah,
yeah, it's just like accepting criticism as like
Yeah.
it's your work. you know, it's your job. So you want to improve in any aspect, and you can't just take it all personally and, you know, have ego about it, you know.
And I'm pretty sure Cameron sat down with you, and you know he's a man of many words and a lot of wisdom for how long he's been on the planet. But you know, being careful with accepting the good criticism as well too, and take everything with a grain of salt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Great point, man.
You can never think like you're the shit until you are.
Yeah, for sure.
Until you, I mean, it's like you'll never be.
Yeah, you gotta either you humble yourself or you're gonna be forced to humble yourself. I
Yep.
learned that.
Exactly.
Yep. So when did you officially like start bodybuilding, Anton? Because you turned pro at 19, 18?
19.
19.
So
Right.
Crazy.
I started lifting back in Ukraine. Still, when I lived in Ukraine, it was 2019, and right when I kind of started off, I already had a trainer because my mom basically got me a membership with like 12 sessions with a trainer. So he kind of got me on the right track with training, and I pretty much had decent training, like pretty much off the rip. The dieting part came a little bit later because at first I was just trying to like get into the groove of things in the gym. And then maybe at like 14, I started dieting for the first time. And then, oh, I'd say 15. And then at that time, I moved to the States and I started like bulking up for the first time. I didn't have many friends. So just the gym kind of became my sanctuary and the place I would go to, like, you know, just to find peace. So I really dove into the gym at that time. And pretty much starting 15, I already had like a certain diet regimen and training that's like, you know, really I would give it all, but at the same time, it wasn't the best training in terms of like the way I connected with the muscle, but you know, it's how everyone starts off, just
Yeah.
you know, kind of balls to the wall. So you just want to get there, so you just train as hard as you can. So pretty much starting 15, I've been somewhat like training like a bodybuilder, eating like a bodybuilder.
And you moved to America when? 2019, you said?
2019, yeah,
Okay, crazy.
yeah.
That's pretty good. So
So
that
yeah.
do you feel like that, like having come from the Ukraine and come here is part of why you kind of have this mindset that you do? I don't know if
100%,
you
yeah.
understand this, but most 21-year-olds don't think like you.
Oh yeah, it was a big shock. Like obviously moving to a different country. At that time my English wasn't as good. Like it was hard for me to like put a sentence together in English. And also my parents were new to the country. So I knew if I don't get my shit together, if I don't work hard and try to achieve some goals that I set for myself, like I knew that my parents wouldn't be able to help me financially. And like I just had to kind of really lock in at that time. So I started focusing on school and bodybuilding as another avenue. Also, I did like track before COVID hit. So after COVID, I was done with track because at that time they closed down the sports. But I did track for like a couple seasons, like 2 seasons, and I was decent too. But
Oh, shit.
it wasn't my thing because I was already bodybuilding, so burning a ton of calories was not like optimal. So at that time, the second they called off the sports, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do bodybuilding. And at that time, my good friend Aiden Reggie, he let me train in his basement. So during COVID, I kept up with bodybuilding, and after that, I was already like kind of build a good physique, like in that year of COVID. So at that time, I was like 17, 18, and I was like, okay, I might try competing. So when I was 18, I committed to my first prep. So
And you turned pro at 19. That's fucking
Wait, so
nuts.
when did you start
Overall at nationals.
I know. I was
when
there.
did you start training?
Yeah.
So
What age was it when
training,
you started
I
training?
started training at 14 back in Ukraine.
Okay.
And then when I moved, I started like actually eating like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
around that time.
Oh shit.
I
It was
think
the summer of 2019 when I like moved
I-
over
I
there.
feel like for most of us, you know, that grew up here in the States and that lived our whole life here, by the time that Anton had basically moved to the States, so when he was like, 15 years old, right, Anton?
Yeah, like 15 and a
You
half.
know, us growing up in this country, by the time we're 15 and 16, we have all of these relationships. And I think all these basically distractions from bodybuilding that we've been able to build up. And I think him moving to a new country where he didn't really know anything, but he knew how to work out. I think that it really created you know, a sense of like him getting so far ahead of the curve because, you know, with the genetics that he has, then also being that locked into bodybuilding because there was really nothing else, you know, that he really knew moving to the States out the gate. It
Yeah,
just
100%.
allowed him to really like, as he mentioned, like his sanctuary, but it really was just
Yeah.
him kind of coming here with like a fresh palette and no distractions. And yeah, you know, because I
And the
think,
COVID at that time also played a
oh
role.
yeah, that's also true.
We
Yeah.
had very different COVID experiences, my friend.
Oh yeah, I was
I
still a
I
kid,
got
so
very fat.
oh
Yeah,
shit.
Cameron would tell you. I think around that time I was pretty
That
pretty
was the
heavy.
crumble
Around time.
cookie era.
Well, no, I
Yeah,
also got
bro.
fat. I was bulking that time, so
No, I was just fat.
I was able to work out. That's why I'm grateful for my friend who gave me like a place to work out in, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to like even.
Does he work out? Does he compete?
Yeah, he competes. He's actually just starting his prep right now. So
Is he an amateur pro? What?
yeah, he's still an amateur, but he's doing men's physique this time around.
So I
So
mean,
Interesting.
we have to make sure that we push this point here. Like you did your first show at 18 and
Yeah.
you just qualified for the Mr. Olympia at 21. Like
Bro, that's
three
a
years later, that's fucking nuts. Like
yeah,
we can't just breeze past that. We're gonna have to settle on that for
yeah.
a little bit here.
yeah,
I mean, what
that's
do you
kind of
think,
crazy.
Anton? What do you
Now
think?
it's hitting, but it feels like such a long journey at this point, because everything's been super fast. Like at first, the first 2 years I tried assimilating here, and then like I literally came from like none, barely speaking English, barely.
Yeah,
I wasn't able to speak in class up until like maybe senior year.
That's
So
crazy.
I was just like isolated, and then boom, things started picking up so fast. So it feels like a whole lifetime. But
bro. I
there's
didn't
been
even
a
know
lot that
that
happened in the last three
I didn't
years.
even know you was Ukrainian, bro. I didn't even know that you couldn't speak English until Cameron told me. I
Yeah.
was like, what?
I
I had no
learned
idea.
English like in my Ukrainian school, but it was British English and it wasn't like up to it's like how we like people learn Spanish here, it wasn't
Right,
up
right, right.
hard to like actually speak it.
Yeah.
So it took me some time. Especially I was shy too because I was like, oh, like I'm not like everyone else. So first I was like until
You,
I got over that like being shy to talk to people, I wasn't able to like practice it enough. So maybe a year I was stalling and then I was just like trying to just switch everything to English. Like I would even speak to my parents in English and all the content, like I started watching everything in English. And
I mean,
I
you've
learned a
picked
lot
up
of
on it
English
fast.
just from music.
It's hard to even tell that you have an accent.
That's what
Like
I'm
it's
saying, bro. I'm
crazy.
like, yo,
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's like
thank
accent is a big part. It's just like it's like muscle man. It's basically like bodybuilding because you just
Mhm.
got to keep repeating the words and your tongue is a muscle. So if you could train your tongue to speak a certain way, just do a lot of repetition, you eventually get it. And I
Well,
was still at that age where, you could still pick up a language really fast.
you really
Like
fast.
after like 15, 16, it's a lot harder.
Yeah, that makes sense,
So
bro.
I got lucky with that. And I knew obviously the rest of my life I'd be living in this country. And if I don't learn the language, I'd have a lot of difficulties. And I wanted to make something out of myself. So I really, really committed to learning English.
Yeah, your back was against the wall for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And also it's like a big part of it is like a lot of people when they move, they stick to their community and stick to the people who like, their native language people.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the area where I moved in Jersey was not like any Ukrainians or Russians. So I was just the only people I spoke Russian to and Ukrainian to it was my parents. So
so
I still like kept my language, but I wasn't able to. It was like I was in the ocean. I had to learn how to swim.
it's true.
Yeah.
You kind of just made yourself do it. But so
It's been pretty quick.
It's the best way to learn language.
Cam, I'm curious, like since you picked him up relatively early in his career, he competed at 18, turned pro at 19. You guys started working together after that. Where were some of the biggest things that you were able to step in and go, hey, this is where we can make things a lot better?
Um, that's a really good question. From the physical side of things, I was able to, because again, I knew what his physique looked like when he turned pro. I also know I had a glimpse of what kind of genetics he had and how long he had off in between where he turned pro to doing his pro debut. And there really wasn't that much of a difference in stage weight. And like you could tell he was over dieted. And so like I from a physical standpoint, I was like, okay, you know, we've got your weight back up. Let's see if we can get you back down and just see how things look as we start getting within 10 pounds from your last show weight. I knew that there was muscle that he had gotten back that we needed to display. Out the gate, that was like the number one thing from a physical side. Um, you know, it's kind of tough for me to really answer on the mental side of things out the gate because again, he was so compliant out the gate with me. He was so, and I don't know too if it's because he hasn't been doing this for so long. It was like I didn't have to teach an old dog how to do new tricks. Or he like came to me in a sense of almost just like, hey man, like whatever you say, I'm gonna kind of basically almost act like, you know, whatever I've learned in the past. And I wouldn't say whatever I've learned in the past I've forgotten because we would still collaborate and communicate and I'd ask him things and what he'd been doing and stuff like that. But he just did such a good job at kind of just like taking his hands off the wheel and like letting me do my thing. So again, it wasn't really that I had to like really reshape a whole lot. It might have just been almost like redirect or just kind of pull him back in or, you know, like I just wanted to set him up to prepare himself that like I knew again, like big picture, like this dude's 21, he's doing this, he looks like this. We got this much weight on his weight cap still. Dude, we could go lose all these shows as long as you stay humble and we give our best and you come in at your best. Like, I'm not worried. Like, we could finish in a terrible placing or we could finish and win all these shows. You're still not even going to be close to where you're going to be 2 years from now. So, my biggest thing was almost making him the best he could be, but mentally setting him up for the worst possible scenario and still being okay and still being able to us stay connected and just still moving. But again, like there wasn't really any pushback from him. There wasn't any really like reshaping of anything that I had to do. Outside of like from a physical standpoint, you know, again, we'd made those big improvements from the Pittsburgh show to now, but I mean, again, like I can't say it enough. Like he's done a he's super coachable.
Yeah, I feel like that's what Nick said. Like coaching and like bodybuilding always requires same principles, and it's all about how you approach it. And the right coach can put the right things in your mind. So it's not like we had to change much because I already knew how bodybuilding works. It's more about like getting that mindset, you know. And Cameron was perfect. Like he explained it perfectly. Like we could go lose these shows, and it won't matter because from 2 years from now, if I keep doing what I'm doing from day like on a daily basis, I'm gonna get there eventually.
I
So
wasn't laugh. I wasn't laughing at you. I saw you flex your fucking glutes, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
Yeah, they had
That's
that
crazy,
crazy
dude.
density, bro, and just quality to his muscle at a young age.
That's
It's
literally said
insane.
that. I said that earlier before you
I'm
got on.
blasting full at
It's
that show
insane.
too. Like
and what was crazy for me is I really didn't know how good he was until we did these shows. Because I was just used
I
to
don't think
see.
anybody knew, bro. I don't think anybody knew how good he really was until these shows.
I
You know
didn't
what I
know
mean?
what to expect.
so with these shows, we were able to really make a statement that I'm competitive
Yeah, yeah.
quality, and with the trajectory, with putting on so much stage weight, in like these short period of time, I know like by the time we do the Olympia, we're gonna be a threat for sure.
Th- this is such a crazy look, but this backdrop pisses me off. Like, can we stop with orange and red when we get on stage of those same hues? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like it all just kind of blends in, which is really unfortunate. But this is a crazy look. Which look did you? Wow,
That
which
was the
look did y'all
first
like
show.
better? Hmm?
Um, I don't know that they were all a little bit different. It's really tough to reflect on the first one because the lighting was so bad, and also too the way that it was set up at the show. The judges table, like if you have the audience here, and this was like the front row, the judges table was set up here. So you couldn't really sit in the front, and they had all of the cameras here. So there was
Hmm.
nobody that was directly behind the stage. So everybody was off to the side. And if you were too close, you couldn't see because all of the cameras and the judges in the judging table. So you pretty much had to sit back and off to the side. So I didn't really get to fully see him
Like straight
like
on.
up close with that lighting.
Mhm.
Um, that look, he had a crazy fullness to him. I just think it could have been a little bit cleaner. I don't fully know exactly what happened, but we were able to take him from having a little bit of gyno in the first show to just being gone in the last two shows. Like we got cooked online after the first one for some gyno in a video, and like it was gone for the other one. I
He
actually
really
reduced
popped
his,
up right before the show too for no reason. I was
I
like,
reduced his baseline salt leading into the other two shows. I still kept it high enough, but I reduced it just ever so slightly by like 20%. And he was able to flush and get a good bit drier. The second show is his driest look that he brought. I felt like within that though, we lost some depth to his back. And then that third show, I told him, you know, I really want to stay as dry as we can, but I need to get your back fuller. Like your back needs to have more depth. And I knew Mosey was doing that show again, and how big Momar has, how big of a back that Momar has. Uh, and I just knew that the detail would stay intact with Anton. And so we really drove the fullness on the third show. And so, yeah, I think you can see here, like show one was about 207, show two was about 205, and then his third show, he was at 210. And um, yeah, so it was all three different looks a little bit. It was just, it was a little bit difficult because every time we did a show, the first two shows, the judges' feedback was, "You're perfect. Don't change anything." And I was like, I know a little bit how we can get a little bit better here. And like I felt whenever we went to that second show where he was at his driest, it was a crazy look for sure. But I felt like when he turned to the back, I could see vulnerability across the stage in the first call out. And it made me a little bit concerned where I was like, dude, you're still even at a fuller look, maybe not as dry, like you're still so detailed and so like striated and dug out. I was like, we're gonna retain that, but I was like, I didn't want to have that vulnerability from the backside with his fullness. But as I was mentioning at the beginning, once we get more muscle on his frame, I'll be able to have that drier look with him and carry that in, and he'll have the depth and the density. I think right now it's a young physique, so we were having to kind of play back and forth. It was three peaks back to back to back.
Yeah. I mean, but you've got data across multiple different looks now.
Yeah.
Now you can fully continue to see how that physique grows into itself, because maybe once he's got more muscle maturity, you can come in drier and lighter, and it looks better than the full
Yeah.
look. You know what I
And
mean?
we didn't touch
But
any diuretics either.
that's the thing that I think
Hallelujah.
people, yeah, that's awesome. But I think that's the one of the things that people don't understand is like we can get a different look very easily, very quickly, and the body can look drastically different. So it's not always just about dry, 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 dry. It's about getting the best look, period,
Yeah.
plain and simple, right?
Balance
Like
between fullness,
yeah,
fluid.
it's like I don't know about you, Cam, but I feel like or you, Jarek. I feel like people fall into this category of like when you start to peak them, they're like, "Why am I not drier?" or "Why am I not fuller?" It's that back and forth all the time where like they're either always wanting to be a bit drier or they're always wanting to be a bit fuller, and it's like, look, we can keep pushing this, but you could lose everything trying to do that.
Yeah.
yeah, my physique really shines when I'm full. That way, everything comes out, all the striations. Like, yeah, we could have pushed it harder, but then we would have lost some leg fullness. And then my back, as Cameron said, would always like flatten out quickly. And by the time we did the third show, like with all the refeeds and peaking so many times, like my body just soaked up and like literally grew into the shows. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was good.
I
And
think
like
what helped too
the fullness
was you
was
guys able to like peak back to back is the fact that there was no diuretic use in the picture.
That's part of the reason why.
You know, like I think things would have got real muddy like by that third show. You'd be like, holy shit, like what's going on? Like,
Well,
you know,
I didn't go into it thinking like we're the only way we're gonna get his best look is without diuretic use.
right, right.
I knew in my head like we might not be able to pull off a certain look without diuretic use,
Mhm.
but again, as Anton kind of mentioned, like I talked to him about like leaving certain tools in our toolbox for when we need it. And so I told him, I was like, look, we got three shows here. Again, like of course we were showing up to win, but I just wanted to bring the best Anton to stage and us like take something from this. And so I was just like, look, you know, going into show one, I was like, let's not use any diuretics. Like, even if we only had two shows and like you probably could use diuretics the first one and manage the second peak and still be fine. I was like, let's go through the first one without it. Then, you know, if we do need to use diuretics, like we know that that's something that we've got for the next show. And then we brought his driest look the second show. And so then I was just like, yeah, we're not even going to need diuretics.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to make sure that you are implementing those things with the physiques that need them. You know what I mean? Like I've seen Anton in the off season, like even when he is in off season and has body fat on him, he kind of has that density to him. He has a drier look anyways. So as soon as you get the body fat off him, he's going to be dry without really having to try to.
Yeah.
The problem that I think I see a lot of guys do is when they already have that look, you put even a small bit of diuretic in, and then they lose all that dryness. They get that like soft, pudgy look. You know what I mean?
Peanut butter skin.
Yeah.
Flat now.
Peanut butter skin is great.
Jiffy.
That cookie dough
Yeah.
body.
I mean, it's definitely one of those things that like, I feel like people hear that conversation sometimes and they go, well, that means nobody needs to use diuretics at all. And it's like, well, that's not the case. There's definitely athletes that I work with. It's like, yeah, if we're going to use a little diuretic to get this off you, but it's a matter of like, if I can just pull a little water and they get dry, then what the fuck? Why do I need to slam them with a diuretic?
Yep.
Because it's not a choice you can take back. You know what I mean? It's like, if we put this in, it's going.
It's almost like AI usage going into a show, or like Super Draw versus Halo, or anything like that, where you're kind of taking what the genetics are giving you and then taking the opposite, or taking a drug profile that might match the opposite of what their genetic predisposition is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've even heard, Cameron, I'm not sure if you've done this ever, but I've heard people talk about like when they start using orals for cycles towards the end of a cycle, right? Some people, if you take Anavar, the look is great. They get that fullness, they get the dryness, they get the strength and everything. Some people, Anadrol works better, right? Because they need a little bit more like oomph to get the look. And have you ever run anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you have some guys that'll do really well with it and some to stay away from it. Like I know with Jarek, he ain't the one to give Anadrol leading into it. Yeah. That boy will come in softly. That water will be tough to get off.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know a lot about that. And then too, some people just like their reaction to drugs are different too. Like I've heard people had a hard time Anadrol when it comes to digestion.
Oh, I can't take it.
No. I've never experienced that with any of my athletes, but
yeah, I had a rough.
I don't know if that's anything you experienced, Cameron.
Oh, to be fair, I haven't used Anadrol with a lot of people going into shows. I could probably count on one, maybe two hands the amount of people that I've had to use Superdrol leading in. But I don't know. It's just something where it's such a last minute item that's really deployed that I usually am just like, like it's tough to dictate, like, do we need to bring this compound in to make you fuller when we're pushing to get fat off right now? Because you kind of should be flat,
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
So obviously we just had the Olympia a couple weeks ago. Were you guys at the Olympia or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't run into either one of you guys. So what are y'all's thoughts on the classic Mr. Olympia?
Well, I like that Ramon was the winner because it kind of sets the standard for classic and keeps it, in the taller guy kind of classic look, like kind of what Chris Bumstead had. Like if Mike won, it would have kind of like, set different standard. And at that point,
I'll push back on that because Terrence even said this too, right? If that was the case, why is Terrence the winningest bodybuilder in the category, right? If taller physiques were the standard, why would he be beating everyone? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think it's about I think it's more about the proportion. It's not about like the height, if that makes sense. Because I would put Terrence also in that category because he's balanced all around. If you look at Mike, he's more like wide and he's X frame.
Like,
you know what I mean? So that's why I could have seen, I could see Terrence winning as well in that case. It's just,
Well, I feel like Anton and Ramon have similarities too. And I think that's kind of what
That's pretty good for me.
Wow.
Having Ramon win.
It's pretty good for me.
Because we're about the same height. And like, if they like that look, then I'll be favored as well.
Right.
Yeah,
But
I can see the similarities.
I still have a long ways to go to be
Yeah.
close.
I loved watching it, to be honest. I had super good seats I bought from James with Team Atlas. And if like the judges table was here, I was like 2 rows behind the judges, like right there. And so I'd never been like that close. I hadn't even gone to finals before in the past because I hadn't had anybody make top 10 before. So this year I was able to get there and sit right there. It was super cool to see up close and I mean Terrence's routine was probably will go down as one of the best routines in history when it's all said and done. But um,
Yeah.
I loved seeing Ramon win it. I knew I had a feeling Ramon was going to win it at finals. I felt like Mike came out a little bit on the flatter side, and Ramon came on in like money at finals, in my opinion, from what I could see. Like his fullness, but also just the detail that he had and the dryness that was still intact with the roundness he had.
Mhm.
And like his glaze was better. Like it just he popped. And I don't know, just I don't speak Portuguese, so I feel like I've never really heard Ramon say anything before, but I feel like just you can see like the persona he emits, and it's almost like he's like a big little kid. Like
Yeah.
so seeing him win it and then just all the Brazil fans going crazy behind me, like it was super, super cool. Like
Yeah, people
you
were
could just
definitely
feel the
cheering his
emotion
champ.
in the room.
Definitely
Yeah.
champ.
Do you think that flatness that Mike had was due to him having to suck down to 204?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know because
personally
he was
think
pretty
that.
full for
Yeah.
prejudging, wasn't he?
I
You think
just
so? I don't
personally
think
think
so.
he's not a threat at 204 as
I
much as
didn't
he is
watch
at 212,
prejudging.
Yeah, I think he came in pretty flat. I mean, you could see his legs bad at prejudging.
Okay. I didn't watch
He
prejudging.
didn't have that pop he's known for in those front shots, man. To me, and then what happened was since his legs were a little flat, it kind of made him look top heavy, even like from the back, like
Definitely his
bad.
bad shots.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, it was bad from the back. So
Anton,
I think that's
Anton,
what
say
gave Ramon prejudging.
Anton, say what you said again. You got talked over for a second. I want to hear that
I was
again.
gonna say, yeah, like I just don't think Mike is as much of a threat at 204 as he was at 212. Like he was really dangerous at 212, but if he's not able to get back up to 212, I don't think he's gonna be as much of a favorite, you know,
I
because he
would
was just
agree.
OOP, totally overpowered at 212 with that
So he was
pop.
212 last year.
Yeah, he was able to be 212, and obviously losing muscle is definitely not gonna make you better.
From
Them
what I
boys knew they
understand,
weren't getting that weight.
from what I
Because it's not
understand,
just the fullness. Like at that point, you're definitely burning muscle. Because
yeah,
like these guys are like 250 in their off season. Like going down to 212 is still like it's as low as you can get, and then have to
Yeah,
go beyond that is definitely like detrimental.
from what I understand, he got down to like 202 and some change,
Oh,
and
wow.
like you said, Anton, like trying to get down to that, you're going to end up dieting off muscle. And there's just this tipping point, and I know Cameron's seen it in people before, where like you're trying to get that last little bit, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't stop this.
It's always the
It's
legs that go first too. Like
yeah,
legs
yeah,
and then probably back, but his
yeah.
back is still good. But
It's like there's nothing.
definitely. Looking back at my last prep, and Cameron, you probably can agree. Like, I definitely was at that point, and not realizing that until stage shots came out. I'm like, holy shit, I
Mhm.
lost everything. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? The pop in Atlanta was just a different
different.
feel. Even how I felt on stage was totally different
Yeah.
that's how
versus
I felt at Pittsburgh. Like I couldn't like connect with the muscle when I was on stage. Like just flexing felt hard. Like I needed to like
yeah,
if that makes sense. Like just go into the pose and like kind of like put myself in the pose instead of like flexing my muscle to go into the pose. You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
my muscle was so empty that I couldn't even like get into the pose like normally. So I would just raise my arms up without like flexing my lats because I knew like my lats have nothing in them, you know.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like mechanical posing, just get into the pose.
So
Wet and proposing.
so now obviously you're one of the first people who is qualified for the Mr. Olympia under the new guidelines, right? Do you guys have any plans to do any shows prior to the Olympia next in 2026?
Not yet. As of right now, no. I think it might be something that we talk about as we get there, but honestly, like I think that it's a really good opportunity for Anton to make a huge statement going
It's a
into it.
crucial off season. I feel like it's super important.
Yeah. And him and I have already talked about it. We're going to try and make a few trips up to Pittsburgh to go pose in front of Tyler and just get his feedback throughout. And I
That's doable.
mean, we did 3 shows already from a peaking standpoint, and I feel like we did a really, really good job for them being our first 3 initial shows. I don't really think that I need any kind of like warm up with his physique to gauge the response. I think that his physique really shows me what I need as we go through the prep and as I feed him up. And I felt very confident with him. For someone only like us being in our first season together, the level of confidence and awareness that I felt I had with his body, I just don't really know how much of a warm up we're going to necessarily need. And if he really is going to be coming in making the statement that I think he's going to make, I think even for like his business and brand, like coming out into the Olympia and doing that is a really good opportunity. And I don't think like the judge notoriety kind of thing is really gonna be something that he needs going into the Olympia either.
Yeah. So the reason I asked that question is because I have follow-up questions to that question, right? Because some of the things that I've heard some other people talk about this is like for the people who qualify early in the season, right? So like you qualified before the Olympia even happened. You're not going to have the same kind of hype that some other athletes are, right? At least in the initial phases, which at the end of the day doesn't really fucking matter. It matters who gets on stage, right? But when we're looking at a potential lineup of 40 to 50 people, those things do help. Of like people remembering what you've looked like recently. There's that side of it that is just something that I feel like should be talked about. And then the other side of it is if Anton was to go and pick up a show, I don't know, sometime close to the Olympia, that knocks a person potentially off the Olympia stage too, right? Because now with the new Olympia qualifications, it's a chopping block. And we talked about this with Terrence because he just went and won fucking Brazil, right? Now he's going to go in Prague, right? Like he's taking people's spots. You know what I
He's
mean?
taking
Are we
money.
going to see more athletes do that? Like taking people's names off that list by just going and winning however many shows they can? And then do you think people should compete closer to the Olympia to have that little bit of hype going into the show too?
So personally, I think, you could build up hype of like social media nowadays. Also, you could do guest posings. And for me, going into another prep, doing a show right after I just finished an off season, for example, it would not be beneficial for the new muscle that I put on just to like go and diet it off right away. So just dieting down would be not be the best. Like, and it would probably take away from my Olympia placings. But that's why we are planning on keeping this off season like pretty tight. Like I don't think I'm going to be going over like 235, 240 pounds, which is like a weight I could be pretty lean at. So I could potentially, if I really need to do a show, like there's good prize money, I could go and do a quick show. But again, it's going to be detriment. Like it's going to take away from my Olympia placing. But at the same time, I could do a guest posing, still build up a hype and show like what I've built so far. There's ways that I could definitely build up that hype leading into the Olympia and like get in front of the judges. I could drive up to Bev's gym, post for Steve too. So there's
Yeah.
lots of ways you could just, get out there. And I feel like you don't have to be doing shows. At the same time, it's always a risk to do a show, especially if you have a full on game plan for the whole year, So
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
definitely like still an option for me to do a couple more shows and just to like get a feel of the stage and get more stage experience because I'm still pretty new to it. Like my posing has improved, but I still have ways to go. Like my mandatories are great, but I would want to like be a better performer on stage as well, like interact with the crowd and also get like a little bit more artistic and a little bit smoother with my routines. So that's something I could potentially get out of a show, but I could get that out of a guest posing as well. So if there's any promoters who are watching, please hit me up.
There you go. That's a great point. Cam, what do you think?
I think that and no knock on Anton, but we need as much as we can get for this upcoming Olympia. And you know, at that level and at the level that he has the potential to compete at, because I do truly think that he'll like I think our goal is going to be cracking into the top 10 next year. And at that level, being that high, a week matters. You know, every small percent matters at that point. And in my opinion, I think that, you know, even if the qualification window opened up a little bit before the Olympia, like it did this year, I don't like my big. I'm kind of like breaking down like steps of his career and journey, strategically in a way, and like our next step, in my opinion, is being as good as we can be at the Olympia and seeing where you stand at the Olympia. You know, I think that that's a certain data point and something that if we truly can unravel at its best ability, there's a lot to take away from that. And so while he could be in a position where we could go win some shows prior to the Olympia, maybe get qualification for the next one, there's a certain level of depth to the analysis that comes from him being his best at the O over this next upcoming season that I don't want to take away from that, because we need to get an understanding of like really where he's at being the best he can be. And I also feel too, to like the, you know, knocking people out of making it, that if we can beat people weeks prior to the Olympia and taking away from that showing to the Olympia, if we can beat them at those shows, they really shouldn't stand a chance if we give everything we've got going into the Olympia, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, like, we'll see, you know, at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to be super close-minded. If it's something that, like, Anton is, like, you know, really, like, it's really important to him, like, it's a conversation that we'll have and we'll discuss together and, you know, come to a mutual decision on. But I think, like I said, for right now, I don't think so. I think that our next step is just, like, how good can we be at the Olympia, and, like, what does that mean for us, and what does that mean for where you stand? And then we worry about, you know, where we need to go from there and, like, the next qualification.
Yep.
I think there's one point that you left out, Cam. I mean, I feel like this everybody left out really, and Cameron has mentioned this to me and brought this up a few times in my career. Is we can't forget, like, he's still young, right? And they're at a point right now where they're trying to capitalize on the time right now. So later on in his career, it's more fruitful, right? So if he's taking away time from actually potentially gaining more muscle or improving by prepping for a show before the Olympia, that's time that he's losing out on potentially just being at his best, right?
Yep.
So they're actually saving more time and allow him to get to his peak performance a lot quicker, even though it feels like it's not quick, right? Because you're waiting to step on stage. But in the grand scheme of things, he's going to be at his best a lot quicker later down the road. You see what I'm saying? So
especially when.
Oh, sorry.
Right. No, you're good, bro. Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's also like a vulnerable component that's there too. That, let's say, for example, you know, let's say someone like Niall jumps into a show very close to next year's Olympia too, and we go and do that show. And I still think we would need some more time. We need some more time before we'd be able to take down Niall at his best. And so I don't foresee that we would beat him. But, you know, let's say, for example, he does, and we go into that show. I don't want to put Anton in a vulnerable position with what could take away from him prepping into the Olympia, you know, because when I was going to beat him at the Olympia too, like, yeah, sure, like it really shouldn't take away, but like as a coach, I've got to also like make sure that I protect that, you know, like you have people that are dieted down on gear. You never know
also
how
demotivating losing a show right before going to the Olympia, for example.
Yeah,
not
for sure.
planning on losing shows, but
It's all good points. It's just the topics of conversation there, just because people are always going to ask.
If you look at every good like Olympia competitor that has done it for years and had a long career, like especially with longevity, like Chris Bumstead, he didn't do any other show except the Olympia once he qualified. He just did Olympia from the Olympia. So I feel like that's the best way, especially for like your health and the overall just.
I mean, technically,
having
Anton
that trajectory.
He has the longest off season out of everyone that did the Olympics this year. He has a week longer than everybody. Yeah,
we're almost done with our health phase. So
considering muscle maturity is the goal, and the longer you can allow muscle to sit on him, the better. You know, like, and you're not rushing. It's not like you're putting him in some crazy surplus and putting on just an absolute shitload of weight. It's like, no, we're trying to just let this kind of marinate and grow and build slowly over time. which is going to just bring out more depth and detail, which is like, I mean, he's got the structure, he's got the shape, he's already beaten a lot of really big names and that kind of thing at the last couple shows that he's done. So it's like, yeah, just a little bit more time, a little bit more size, and it's going to come together very, very well. So
And
Yeah, I think
the
Terrence mentioned
presentation.
that. I think Terrence mentioned that once you're like at the top of your weight cap and you really have like no room for improvement, that's when you go out and do a lot of shows. That's when you go
Yeah.
knock other guys out. For me,
great
in my
point.
case, I should just still like keep building, keep investing into my physique, so eventually it becomes more fruitful.
For
As
sure. And I don't think your presentation is that bad that you need to get on stage and work at that. I mean, like you said, there's many ways. As a posing connoisseur myself, I like to say. I mean,
yeah,
I've gotten really good at posing off the stage before I even hit the stage. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't the stage ideally that really elevated my stage presence. It was me
yeah.
putting the work behind closed doors and
A lot of it's
doing 2 hours of
confidence too.
posing post
I feel
workout.
like the stage is what gives you that pressure. You know, performing
Yeah.
good under pressures was something you to learn, but in the last 3 shows, I've definitely learned how to perform under pressure.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm not even putting on that pressure on myself. Even if I feel
Sure.
some sort of nerves, I use it to my advantage. You know, the adrenaline rush. If you really master it, you could use it to your advantage and perform better. And I was able to actually nail my poses better on stage than I did.
Yeah, you could see it from the first 3 shows. It was like that the first one when he was doing like his individual routine, it was almost like him just working from the next pose to the next one. Whereas like the last show, you could see like he was moving a little bit different. Maybe like he would flow with the transition that like he wasn't really practicing, but like it flowed up there. He was kind of just being in the
Yeah.
moment. And then like during the final call out, you're starting to see him do certain stuff. Like he point at his glutes and like you could see he was starting to like feel it up there and like
Yeah, I
get
was
out of that
feeling
motion
it
of
for
just
sure.
like being in a box of like, okay, getting into this shot, okay, getting in this. And it was
Yeah.
more so,
Yeah,
just
getting over that fear.
Do y'all know who John Lofthouse is?
Yeah. Yep.
So he's a UK classic pro, and he at the Olympia came over and posed my pro open guy. And the way he was talking about moving through different positions that he calls them, he had 4 different outside of the mandatory foot positions. There's 4 other positions that 80% of most poses kind of accumulate through.
It's like
And the way he was talking about learning how to move through them so that like you just know when you go here, you're in that position. Like the way he was talking about that is like that makes a lot of sense of like just building that reputation and understanding that when I go this way and I shift my hips this way, my legs are going to fall in this position here. So all I need to know is where my hips are going and everything else goes from
The
there.
flow from there.
And
Yeah.
that's how that flow is built. Because like if you watch Terrence or you watch any guy who can really move through poses, he's leading himself from his hips and everything else is kind of coming through with it, and everything is founded from there and how he moves how that individual moves their feet through space. So it's definitely just like the more you can kind of get comfortable with going through those things on a regular basis, the better you're going to be on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of landing yourself with your feet into the pose.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds redundant, but like that's the foundation with anything you do, with any pose you do, and that's the quarter turns is going to be the foundation with any pose, right? If you can master the quarter turns, you're about halfway there. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I really get on a lot of my athletes when it comes to posing because they want to put together a routine, they want to do this. It's like, bro, you can't even do the front relax, my boy. Like, it's like let's work on the quarter turns first, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, drill the mandatories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really put in a lot of work with my just drilling the mandatories in between Pittsburgh and these shows because I knew this was something that was lacking, like just the transitions as well. And then
Yeah.
with like, the actual routine, that's something you just kind of like, you just once you know the pose, you just put it together.
Yep.
So it's
sure.
all down to the basics, as Jarek said, like just getting the mandatories right, getting the quarter turns.
So we're coming up on an hour and a half at this point, but I have one question that I'll pose, which we talked about on the last podcast. What are y'all's thoughts on judging the posing for the classic competitors specifically?
I mean, I spoke about this not too long ago. I forgot who it was. Actually, I think it was our last episode.
Yeah.
I think if the only issue with that is obviously is going to be subjective on what posing routine looks the best or what you favor the most, right? It's going to add more subjectivity to the scoring, but if we can kind of set up different categories within each pose routine, like transition, you know, what's the score on transition, his transitions, what's the score on his musicality, what's the score on his cadence, what's the score on him, his pose selection, right? I think that can add a little bit more of a general aspect and more objectivity when scoring routines.
What do you
So,
think, Anton?
Yeah,
Or
I definitely
Cameron?
think subjectivity is definitely an issue because
Yeah.
like some people have different preferences in terms of posing, and music also plays a big part. Like some might just not like the song, and and it's
Yeah.
not gonna go the right way. But like just watching shows, like you could tell sometimes like the amount of like diligence and like work that people put into their routines, and like I do think this should give them some sort of an edge, just because the amount of work they put in, and like you could see some people just clearly stand out, like Terrence. And I watched Texas Pro. There was this one guy, I forget his name, but either way, like he just had like even his individual, like you could tell everything was so drilled to the point where like nobody else stood a chance next to him. So it's like, yeah, his physique is not maybe not even in the top five, but like he's posing definitely played a role. But at the end of the day, we're judging the physique. So I don't know how, but there's definitely a way we could like maybe give somebody an edge. I don't know how you'll be able to judge it or like bring in the criterias because it's an art, so you really can't bring in criterias into this,
Right.
It's
Yeah.
hard.
It would be.
Yeah.
It would just be interesting, Cameron.
I
That's why they have the best poser award. My bad, Cameron.
no, you're good.
So I think maybe the best poser award thing.
I think it would create a shit ton of controversy.
Yeah.
I think it would get crazy in the social media comments. I don't know. For me personally, I like it how it is. Just judging the physiques, It as a coach, it's hard not to want something that's out of your control to dictate the placing, and to have a higher weight on the placing. And I don't know. I think that I think it would just have to not be a lot of the percent of the score.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
Like a
sure.
small
100%.
fraction of the
No.
score.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
I know like fitness, for example, it's like 2/3. Like I know one of the girls that split middle in fitness and prejudging based on physique ended up taking sixth at the O. Just because I think the routine wasn't as polished. But yeah, I mean I guess it could be something like I think it would have definitely been enough to move Terrence up big time if it did play a role. But or maybe like a special exception where like the routine is so good and like you could feel it in the which again that's subjectivity. But like
Yeah.
at the Olympia you could feel it in the room when Terrence was going, So
I
it
mean,
could
look,
be like a special occasion kind of thing, but again, like it's subjective to how good it was to even. I think it'd make it very hard for the judges, and
For
they
sure.
already have such a hard job.
I think I just want to add to that real quick and kind of made me think about something. Maybe allowing the audience to judge that portion. Giving that power to the audience in some way. Because I know, like for Detroit Pro, there was some award that was given out. It was kind of like the audience was voting for these athletes. I don't know how they did it, but maybe that can be integrated somehow in these
But
shows.
then social media plays a big factor because,
Yeah.
in my opinion, I thought Andrew was going to be the people's champ, and it ended up being Hottie, and I think it's because Hottie's fan base compared to Andrew's fan base.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
and then like people in the crowd, like if there's a
Makes
person from a
sense.
different country and their routine's perfect, but then nobody knows them from the crowd, they're not gonna vote for him. They're
That
gonna
makes sense.
Yeah.
somebody who's local.
It's just an interesting thought, of like how because the biggest argument is like, what's the difference in classic? What makes it classic? You know what I mean? So it's like if we incorporate, all right, well, here posing routines, it could be an interesting way to go. All right, this is why they're different. It's not just bodybuilding with a weight cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's how I look at it. If I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the only thing
Yeah.
that separates open and classic is a weight
The
cap.
weight cap.
I think
for sure.
I feel like
agreed.
every show should just have like best poser award, and that would like reward the people who really
With
put in
like
work.
a prize, yeah.
And maybe
But-
that could contribute to their overall score if they've got the
Points for
best
the
poser award and then they place like third, maybe they could move him up to second, for example.
Or like points in the Olympia standings, like maybe you get 1 point for like the best poser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something they could do, but yeah, I mean, it's
It's
also one of those
definitely
things that
hard.
like when you see a classic physique, it's like, yeah, that's what that is. You know what I mean? It's that's why classic physique is hard for people to wrap their heads around, because it's like you know it when you see it. It's just it's just a thing. It's like you can't go, well, it's this look, because there's a million different types of looks that you can look at and all go, yeah, that fits into classic. You know, it's like it's a pretty in your face thing, but then from there it starts to get a little funky. You know what I mean? That's where people are like, well, I think this looks more classic. You know, that's where the issue comes into play. You know,
Sure.
but cool. Anything else for them, Jarek?
Man, y'all did a hell of a job, man.
Thank you.
And you know, seeing you guys go through those last 3 shows, and I was really, really happy to see Anton really like live up to his name, because I'm sure you had a lot of pressure, even just going pro so early on, and then Cameron, like knowing you and knowing what you've been through, like to see what you did, bro, is crazy, bro. I'm really happy for you guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
We definitely make a good team for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you've won quite a few shows together already, so.
Yeah.
But
epic.
definitely excited to see you on stage at the Olympia next year, Anton, and excited to see what you and Cameron do together. But we appreciate you guys coming on and spending a little bit of time with us.
Of course, thank you for having us on.
For anyone, for anyone who's still watching right now, make sure you do the YouTube thing, subscribe, like, share with your friends, leave a comment down below, let us know who you want to see, what you want to see, and we'll talk about it next time. We'll see you guys on the next episode.